Hello P6, welcome to Tuesday's Maths lesson. Now, today we are going to get underway with our warm-up challenge. And for today's warm-up challenge, if you look on the website, you'll see that I have given you the answer is 18. What was the question? What I would like you to do is come up with different questions that have the answer 18. Now, I would love you to be as creative as you can. Don't just make them all adding questions or subtraction questions. Make them a little bit more interesting. So can you come up perhaps with some word problems or bracket sums? What can you do to make an interesting question that has the answer 18? Try and come up with at least 10 questions of your own. Now, for our main activity today, we're going to keep going with decimals. And over the last week or two, we've been thinking about hundredths. And hundredths are where we divide an object into 100 equal parts. And money would be probably the most common way that we would use hundredths in real life. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a think about adding decimals, which is what we were doing yesterday, and then we're going to think about taking away decimals, which is today's new learning. Now, let's think a bit about place value before we do anything else. We know that we've got our headings, tens and units, and then we've been looking at tenths and hundredths. Remember, tenths could be written with a small t, or it could be written like that. Hundredths could be written like that. Okay, they say the same thing, tenths, hundredths. If I'm looking at tenths, I'm looking at something that's been divided into 10 parts. So if I wrote down the decimal number 2.6, what does it mean? Well, it means I've got two whole things, 2 units, and I've got 6 out of the 10 parts of the next one. So 2 whole and 6 tenths. If I was to write down 5.17, 5.17, remember after the decimal point, say each number separately. What does 5.17 mean? Well, I've got my 5 units. I've got 1/10 and 7/100ths. So I could think of that as being 1/10 and 7/100ths. Or I could put the 2 parts together and make that into 17/100ths. So I can either read them separately, 1/10, 7/100ths, or I can read the 2 numbers together as hundredths, 17/100ths. And that's the sort of thing we were looking at yesterday. And what we were doing yesterday then was we were practicing doing some adding. So we would have had questions like 4.97 add 2.83. And we would have added those together. Can you remember what the first thing was that we should do before we do any of our working out? Yep, make sure you've got your decimal point into your answer line. And then yesterday we were simply adding, so we did 7 add 3 would be 10. Don't forget, put the carried number at the bottom, P6. It's not up high, it's at the bottom. 9 plus 8 plus 1, well 9 and 1 makes 10, and 8 more is 18. And then 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7. So what does my final answer say? 7.80. Now, if I was writing that down as an answer, I could write it down as 7.80. But 7.80 is actually exactly the same as 7.8. Let's think about that a little bit more. If I take a number, for example, the number 4. If I was thinking about the number 4 and I don't have anything extra after it, I could just leave that as the number 4. I don't have to have a decimal point and any zeros. But 4.0 means exactly the same as 4. It means I've got 4 units and no extra tenths. Or I also could write it as 4.00. 4 units, no tenths, no hundredths. 4, 4.0, 4.00, they all mean the same thing. Now, a good way to think of that, especially the top one and the bottom one, is to think of it like money. We know that we could write down £4 and it looks like that. But we also know that we could write down £4 and it can look like that as well. Those 2 zeros after the decimal point just mean I haven't got anything extra. I don't have any more money apart from that £4. So when I'm looking at decimals, if I have a number that doesn't have a decimal point, then what I can do is add a decimal point after that number and add 1 0 or 2 zeros. And as we'll learn later in P6, that might become 3 or 4 or even more zeros. But for now, we'll stick with 1 or 2 zeros. So that's okay. It's also okay if I do have a number which has one number after the decimal point. For example, that's 7.8. 7.8 and 7.80 are exactly the same as each other. Because 7.8, the 8 means 8/10. In 7.80, if I look at the 8 and the 0 together, that becomes 80 hundredths. And we know from what we did in equivalent fractions way back in the first term that 8/10 and 80 hundredths are exactly the same thing. At the end of a decimal number, it is okay after the decimal point to add extra zeros on at the end of the number. Now, we're not putting the 0 in the middle of the number. The extra 0 can go at the end of the number. And we'll be using that sort of thing as we do today's work, because today, P6, we're going to think about subtraction. Now, we've got a few questions in this page. We're going to take a look at them together before you have a look at your work for today. So let's start off with a really straightforward one. I've got 5.27 and I'm going to take away 1.15. So let's look at this one. I do it just like I would do any other subtraction calculation. The only difference being I've checked that I've got my decimal points, one straight under the other. They're all in a straight line. And I've remembered to put a decimal point into my answer. And then I would just work it out as I normally do. Start at the top, 7, take away the number underneath it. 7 take away 5 is, 2. 2 take away 1 is 1. 5 take away 1, 4. How would I say that answer, P6? 4.12. Did you remember to say 1, 2? You didn't say 12? 4.12. Let's have a go at this one. It's a little bit trickier. 37.42 take away 19.27. Now, before I begin to do my working out, what do I need to do? I need to put my decimal point in. Make sure that decimal point is nice and clear. Without it, your answer will be wrong. Right, this one's a little bit harder, so let's think about it. 2 take away 7. Can I do that? No, I can't. I can't take 7 away from 2, so I need to do my exchange. So, go over from the 2 over into the 4. Cross out the 4, take away 1 from it, so it becomes 3. Carry that 1 over across. So we've done our exchange. 12 take away 5 is, 12 take away 7 is 5. 3 take away 2, I can do that. 3 take away 2 is 1. 7 take away 9. Can I do 7 take away 9? Nope. So go across, cross out the 3, it becomes a 2. Bring over the 1, so now I've got 17 take away 9. So count on from 9 up to 17. Yep, that's going to be 8. And 2 take away 1 is 1. How will I say that answer, P6? 18 point, 15. Let's have a go at this question. It's at the minute it's been set out horizontally, it's going straight across, but I want to turn it so it looks like one of these ones. I want to turn it into a vertical calculation. So I've got 26.23 take away 9.71. So I'm going to write down my 26.23. Where am I going to write the 9.71? Because I've got 3 digits here and I've got 4 digits there. Well, the trick is to keep your decimal points in a straight line. Put the decimal point in straight underneath. Where am I going to write the 9.71? Well, the 9 is just on the other side of the decimal point, so the 9 has to go there. The 7 and the 1 have to go there. It's a takeaway question, so I need to put my takeaway sign in. Then roll my line across. Now, once I've rolled my line across, what else do I still need to do before I do my working out? Yep, I need to put my decimal point in. So 26.23 take away 9.71 would look like that. and then we would do it. So 3 take away 1 is 2. 2 take away 7, can't do. So the 6 becomes a 5. I've now got a 12 take away 7 is 5. 5 take away 9, can't do that one either. 15 take away 9, yep, it's going to be 6. 1 take away nothing. How would I say the answer, P6? 16.52. So think what we did with that one when we were writing it down. We made sure our decimal points were in a straight line. That meant there was an empty number, an empty space there underneath that 2, but that was okay because it was at this side of the question. Let's try this one. 52 take away 46.38. Now, this one I'm going to have to think a little bit more about because this is a decimal number, 46.38. There's no decimal point in this one. So at the minute when I go to write it down, I write down my 52. How am I going to put the 46.38 underneath it? Well, 52 is 5 tens and 2 units. 46.38, there's my tens, my units, my tenths, and my hundredths. So the 46 has to go there, 0.38. But how am I going to do this question? Because there's nothing above my 0.38. Can you think what we might have to do? Well, what we have to do is put in a decimal point and 2 zeros there for my tenths and my hundredths. Remember what we talked about a couple of minutes ago? Whenever I write down decimal numbers, if there's nothing after the number, I can put in a decimal point and 1 0 or a decimal point and 2 zeros. So in this one, instead of just having 52, what I can do is put a decimal point after that 52, put in 2 zeros, and now I can go and do my question. 52.00 take away 46.38. Well, 0 take away 8. Oh, before I do that, what else do I need to do, P6? Yep, I need to get that decimal point in, don't I? So 0 take away 8, I can't do my exchange there. So go to the next number, take away 1, so the 2 becomes a 1. That's now a 10, but I still have to work out this bit. So what do I need to do now? Yeah, cross out the 10, change it to a 9, bring over the 1. So 10 take away 8 is 2. 9 take away 3, yep, is 6. 1 take away 6, can't do that one. So 11 take away 6, it's going to be 5. And 4 take away 4, 0. How would I say that answer, P6? Well, I would ignore the 0 at the start. How would I say it? 5.62. Now, P6, for your tasks today, you're going to choose one of 2 pages. If you choose to do this page, that's the lower level task, and you're setting your work out just as we were setting it out there on the page. You're going to practice doing some subtraction, find the difference questions. And at the end, you might just need to think a little bit more about these ones. They've been set out horizontally. You'll need to change them so they look like these questions. They look vertical. That's the lower level task. If you choose to do the higher level task, your activities today are to do with money. And remember, as we've already talked about, when I write down an amount of money, if it's in full pounds, I could write it like that, or I could put a decimal point and 2 zeros after it. You might need to do that for some of your questions. So a lot of yours is to do with this ferry price list for going on the ferry. So how much are you charged for each of these people or each of these types of transport? So you're going to be using that. If it is a money answer, P6, don't forget, put in the pound sign at the start and do your very best to work your way through all of that. So today's main activity, P6, is all to do with subtraction. Once you've got that done, you have got your reasoning challenge, which today is all to do with data handling. And then once you've got that done, why don't you head over to Prodigy. On Prodigy, we have added in lots of questions, all to do with decimals. I would love you to go over to Prodigy and practice your decimal calculations. Have a lovely day. Bye.